Hello, hello, good afternoon. It's Monica from Life is Art, and this is the Thursday 5:30 p.m. demo at the Miniatures Around the World online crop. I hope you have had a wonderful day. Maybe you were available today to do some crafting. Maybe you were at work. Maybe you had appointments, but the wonderful thing about Facebook is that we can watch things on replay. And YouTube is also good for that too. I'm just getting myself centered-ish here. And we are going to be looking at a few things from the annual catalog with Stampin' Up! And we're going to be looking at one of the collections that we touched on last time as well, which is the Country Woods collection. And it's got beautiful wood grains and textures in there. And so we're going to be looking at that. We're also going to be looking at a stamp and die set called Trusty Tools. And if you are a Stampin' Up! Customer, you may have this because this is actually carried over from last year's catalog. So we're going to be looking at the Trusty Tools Stamp and Die, a very good one, especially as we're coming into Father's Day coming up. And then farther down here in the catalog, we're also going to be looking at the nested essentials dies, which we used just the other day. So lots of things going into this demo today. If you're joining me live, just say hello or howdy so I know you're here. And if you're watching later on replay, you can just say replay or just leave a comment. I see Pauline is here. Good morning, Pauline. You're joining us from far away. And so it's morning where you are. And just as a reminder to always check the schedule at the beginning of the crop, because my kids' school schedule has slightly changed. My son, who's in college, has just started a new semester. So that's why we're working at 5:30 instead of 3:30. It just helps us get them back and forth to school on time. And so today and tomorrow, our demo is at 5:30. On the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, it will be at our usual 3:30 time. So I know that's going to throw some of you off because it's always been 3:30 for the most part. But yay for replay. I see my mom has joined. Hello, Mom. Nice to see you're watching. So we're going to start out with just a white cardstock card base. And we're going to begin by adding a piece of this gorgeous, chunky, flaky wood grain from the Country Woods collection. It's a wood that's been painted a few different colors, and it's been weathered, and it's been sitting out in the rain and the sun, and it's all chunky and gnarbly, and I just love it. Don't you just love things that are chunky and gnarbly? Yes, I do. So this piece has been cut to 5 3/8 by 4 1/8. So it's just 1/8 of an inch smaller than our 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 card. And I'm going to add some adhesive to this. And I'm going to put a little extra, a little more than just top and bottom, because we're going to be adding on to this. So adding our adhesive, like so. Remove the backings. Now, you know me and how I like to, this is going to be a top fold card. I'm going to put my fingertips along the edge. I'm going to put my paper at about a 45-degree angle. And I'm going to slide it up to my fingertips until it feels like it's in the right spot. And then I can just go ahead and lay it down. And I trust my fingertips a little better than my eyeballs. I'm waiting, actually. I have to go. Just got new glasses, and I have to take them back and get them redone because they're not what I thought they were. But once that's done, I will hopefully be able to see things a little better. And then maybe I can trust my eyeballs a little more. You're joining us from Canberra, Australia. Ooh, you're having a wet and soggy day. We had that a couple days ago, Pauline. And I'm kind of glad it's not wet and soggy anymore right now because this is a good segue into our tools. our neighbors are doing a huge build on their house. They have taken half their house off and they're raising up their crawl space to make it a full-size basement. And then they're building, instead of a side split, they're going to have all one level. And then they're building an addition above that. So it's been fun to be watching them. And when I'm coming and going from the house and looking out the window and seeing what they're doing, because they work fast. Our neighbor and his crew are really skilled. So I've got here a piece of cardstock, and you know what? I'm learning my colors. I know, it's like kindergarten. I'm learning my colors, so I'm just going to flip to the back, and then I'll be able to tell you what color. This is pecan pie. We're also going to be using some smoky slate. Some smoky slate. So keep that in mind. And those are both from the Neutrals cardstock packing. Get 12 by 12 of those. And so I've just cut a piece. It doesn't really matter what the size is because we're going to be using it with our dies. So these are the dies that coordinate with the Trusty Tools. Let me grab the stamps so you can see that too. So these are the Trusty Tools stamps. We've got Thank You Dad, Happy Father's Day, You're the Most Awesome. There's some little nuts and bolts and screws. There's a pencil, and then also the part that can color the pencil, hammer, wrench, measuring tape, paintbrush, all the handles and things. But then in the dies, there are also dies that cut other things. So let's pull these out so you can see. I probably got it turned around the back way. So these are the Trusty Tools dies, and I put them back so well. We're going to be using this one that looks like pegboard, and we're going to be pulling out a few others later, but for now we're going to start with that pegboard. I'm just going to tuck that in there. I need to get myself a little piece of magnetic sheet to go in there, keep tabs on everything. So we're going to take our pegboard, we're going to stick it on our piece of pecan pie cardstock, get our Big Shot here. This is ye old Stampin' Up! Big Shot from 20 years ago. And whenever you're putting a die that's big and rectangular like this with hard edges, you want to put it in on an angle so that it goes through nice and smoothly and you don't have the great big clunk as you hit the die. It will also keep your die from doing any kind of bending, warping, or any of those unfortunate things. Now, if you're like me and you end up with all the little dots on here, what I do is I take this over to my trash can and I use the top plate just to scrape. Just like that, and all those little dots come right off. I do store my plates right in my machine, and I flip them every now and then so they don't get too warpy one way or another. And this die actually does a really great job. You will see here, there's only just a couple little bits that didn't fall out. You know what, probably if I flicked, yep, I don't even need the pokey tool. They flick right out, and that is awesome. That's a sign that the die is cutting really well. But we're going to go a step further, and we're going to use another die on this. And did I leave it out? Now there's the question, what did I do with the other die? I'm going to be using the Nested Essentials dies, and I want to take this largest rectangle with the rounded edges, and we're going to die cut on here a second time. So we've cut the pegboard, and now we're cutting a nice little shape. So I want to kind of line it up so that hopefully I don't have too many of the holes right on the edge. I may end up with a few. Yes, I could use a magnetic plate, but you know, we're going to take a risk here. Sometimes I'm just a little too lazy to get out the washi tape or anything else to deal with the with holding things in place. And that did perfect. Love it. Okay. We'll get rid of the scrappy bits. We'll move this. Now I wanted to do one more little bit of die cutting, and we'll do that later. Let me stick this back on. This is always important. Put your dies back on. Now I use this second largest die on a piece of white cardstock and cut out a second shape like this one, a little bit smaller, but we're not going to layer them one on top of the other. I like my pegboard like this. So we're going to first stick our pegboard down, and I think I'll just use some liquid glue for this. See if we can't just get a couple strips of glue, just a tiny bit so we don't smush out all the little holes. Oops. Lose my grip. Sometimes people, I got hiccups. Sometimes people lose their grip on reality. I just lost my grip on my pegboard. All right, so let's stick this on here. Kind of centered top to bottom, right near the right edge, and we're going to stick that down. We can go ahead and put our lid back on there. And then I want to bring in a piece of the Smoky Slate cardstock, and this has been cut to 5 1/4 by 5/8. We're going to dovetail the ends of this. Now this particular card was inspired by one I saw on Pinterest, and I'm going to have to do a quick look here in a second to remind myself of the name of the crafter who posted it. I know the first name is Di, and I want to say Barnes, but I want to make sure that's correct before I say it. But I will also post the name when I post the photos. Let me just quickly check. It's loosely based on it, just kind of the general idea. And I thought it was kind of a fun pattern, a little bit off-centered. And yes, it's Di Barnes from Color Me Happy. And that was where I got this inspiration from. Let's add some adhesive on the back of this Smoky Slate long, slim banner. And I think this little banner here kind of grounds what's going to go on next on here. And it also kind of has the impression of like a workbench or a shelf. And I like that. So we're just going to center that. And I went about 1 1/4 inches up from the bottom of the card. Okay, next we're going to stamp our sentiment. So I've got this nice die cut, and you'll notice some detail on these die cuts. There's like little dots that emboss all the way around the edges. And I think that is super nice. And we need a stamp for this. We're going to bring in a stamp from the Trusty Tools stamp set. We're going to use You're the Most Awesome because I think, you know, all the guys around in our lives, they're the most awesome. For this, I'm going to be using a color that matches with our Country Woods, which is the Misty Moonlight. Now, there's a couple ways you can open these ink pads. You can lift from the end like that, or you can push down on the opposite end and that will pop it up. So it's up to you how you want to do it. And then you just flip and you slide. And I used my pickup tool from Close to My Heart to add a little bit of wax in the little tracks. And I posted a video about that. So that helps it slide in and out. Super nice. We're just going to ink this stamp up. Now I have to remember that these, it's a little different from previous ones. And I have to remind myself to, you know, go gently. So we're going to go a little bit north of center with our stamping. And now to close this, you're just going to pull, slide, and close. So that was the Misty Moonlight. And we can go ahead and add that to our card. I'm going to add that with some dimensionals. So I've got the regular size dimensionals here. Just going to add a few in the corners like that. Remove the backing. There we go. 2 more. It's like calisthenics. 2 more. 1 more. And just because my fingers get in the way of me being able to see what I'm doing, I'm going to grab some tweezers. Look at these fun tweezers that my mom got me for my birthday because I misplaced / left my tweezers at a crop. And so now I have replacement tweezers. We're going to offset that and put it a little bit below that nice little Smoky Slate banner, and kind of have the awesome running all the same way. I think that looks pretty cool like that. We're also going to bring in one of the stamps on here is a little screw and a little nut, and then the top of the screw. And there's also little dies that cut those out as well. So I went ahead and I used the Smoky Slate and I cut out these teeny tiny little pieces that I've been trying not to breathe too hard on because I don't want to lose. And we're going to add those as little embellishments around our sentiment. And so I'm going to put just a tiny little bit of glue on my hand, you know my glue trick, and use tweezers. And then we can go ahead, make sure I got it the right way around, tap it into the glue, tap it off, and then stick it to our card like so. And then let's take the head of the screw here, see if I can pick it up. Tap, 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 tap. Tweezers are essential for this kind of stuff. It would be pretty much impossible for me to pick up these little bits, get them gluey, and get them stuck on in any semblance of goodness without a pair of tweezers. So yay, thank you, Mom. Today is my mom's birthday too. All right, now our next step is to do some stamping. So we're going to get some stamps from the stamp set. I'm going to set this aside. Remind me I put it over that way because I usually put everything over this way. We want to stamp some of these tools. And I've got a piece of white cardstock here just waiting for some stamping to happen. I've got some stamp blocks. And the first one I want to stamp is the tape measure. So I'm just going to go ahead, grab that with my block. We're going to stamp it first in the Memento ink. Let me just scooch that out of the way. We're going to stamp it in Memento like that. But then we're going to do something a little bit different. Let me just wipe this off so I don't get it all over my hands. When I take it off the block. So if you take a look at this stamp set, you will see, if I turn it the right way around, nope, this way. You will see that there is our, there's our sentiment that we used, there's our tape measure, but there's this shape that looks a lot like the shape of the tape measure. And if we carefully walk that off the backing sheet, we can grab that with our stamp block, and that perfectly fits onto the front of our tape measure. So we're going to ink that up with a little Stampin' Spot here with some shaded spruce. Thank you to Samantha who shared some lovely supplies, some Stampin' Up supplies during the retreat on the weekend. And I don't want to stamp this full strength. So I'm going to stamp off, and then I'm going to stamp. And then we have, you can see that's a much lighter color, and it still shows all the lovely detail. If we stamp full strength with the shaded spruce on there, you wouldn't be able to see those shadowy lines and things. So that really helps to do that stamping off. We can give this a little wash. Just got my Stampin' Scrub here. And then we can walk that off the block, stick it back on the carrier sheet. The next tool I want to stamp, let me grab a different block. We're going to stamp the hammer. It's not Thor's hammer though, it's just a hammer. It's actually a ball peen hammer on one end. And we're going to ink that up in the Memento. We're going to stamp it like so. And then I also want to add some color to the handle on this. Now you could do some paper piecing because there are dies that cut out the different pieces. You could do some metallics up here, maybe some of that textured metallics that looks so cool. I thought about doing that, and then I decided to keep it a little bit more simple for today. But we can get a hold of, let me see if I've got the right one here. Yes, this is the part that will stamp the color. So we're going to make sure it's seasoned. We're going to make sure we're using the color and not the black. And we're going to stamp it. We want all of our tools to match. I don't know about you guys, but in our house, most of our tools, and we're going to stamp off, are all the same color because they're made by the same company. And so we're making some matchy-matchy tools today. My husband's tools are greenish, but they're a different kind of green. They're closer to like a granny apple green or a lemon lime twist type green. I think they're Ryobi tools or something. Anyway, and then I also want to stamp a little wrench here. I'm gonna grab that, ink it up in the black. Oh, and there's my phone doing an alarm. There we go. It's telling me it's almost time to post the next game. So after we're done here, we're going to post our game number 3. So be looking out for that. I apologize today. I started out the day behind, slept through my alarms, and my daughter was late for band practice this morning, and I've just been kind of having trouble with my alarms all day. They weren't going off, and now they're going off in the middle of videos, but we persevere. Let's grab the stamp that's going to color the handle of our wrench, and we're going to ink that up with this shaded spruce. Tap, tap, tap. We're going to stamp off, and then we're going to stamp onto the handle of our wrench, just like that. Lovely. So yes, so you may have noticed that game number 2 didn't get posted till really late today. It should have been posted at 11, and it was not. I apologize. We're hoping tomorrow will be a better day. My daughter does have, again, an early morning band practice. So let's see if we can accomplish what needs to be accomplished to get her there on time. There we go, our shaded spruce. Now, we have dies to cut these out. Now, you know me, I would probably normally just grab my scissors, but because we have the dies, we're going to use the dies. So there's our wrench, there's our hammer, and there's our measuring tape. And you can see there's even things that aren't on here. We've got an electric drill and the drill bit. We've got a paintbrush. We've got pliers and the handles for the pliers. There's a little bit more of the ruler for this, so you could cut it out of a different color. There's, I believe these are little bits that can go on there as well. There's the head of the hammer. There's this wrench. And there's also the pieces to make a toolbox. So lots of extra dies in there that aren't connected to stamps. So that's usually the thing that sells me on a die set, is that there's stuff in there that I can't get any other way. Now, I'm just looking because I had my washi tape. And do you think my washi tape is visible at the moment? It is not. Let me see. We'll see what this washi tape is like. I like the other one because it's thin, it's small, and it doesn't stick very much. So we'll just be careful with this one because I'm not sure how sticky it is. If you ever have a washi tape that's not the best washi tape, this one's just going to fray everywhere, then that's the kind that you want to use for this, because if it doesn't stick very well, it's not going to damage your paper. So what we're going to do is we're going to stick our dies on here, make sure we're outside the lines, And add a little piece there. We're going to get our wrench. And we're going to add this on here. See, this is for me. This is why I would normally just gravitate towards my scissors, because I find it takes me a lot longer to get prepared to die cut than it does to just get my scissors and cut it out that way. Of course, if I had my washi tape sitting here, like I should, then I wouldn't have to look around for it, but I had it and now it's gone. All right, let's stick our last piece on, lining it up like that, and grab the Big Shot. Now, Stampin' Up! Does have the die cut and emboss machine and also the mini, and those are different from this machine. They do the same thing, but they're a different kind of machine. And just so you know, those are going to be 10% off next month, starting June the 5th. The die cut and emboss machines, as well as the bundled stamps and dies. They're all going to be 10% off starting June the 5th until June 30th. So that's exciting. Any of you who joined or are thinking about joining in May with the joining special that's going on right now, I'm just going to set those aside and I'll stick them back in the proper spot later. If you joined as a demonstrator, then, oh, that's right, I said I put it over to the other side. During May, then you will have actually a 30% discount, because you would get your 20% commission and then your 10%. How awesome is that? All right, let's do some foam tape on these. We're going to add a little bit of foam, some dimensionals on here, like that. And I'm actually going to use my scissors to snip a little bit right there. We just need a tiny little snip, and that helps if you go right along the edge. You can get tiny little snips and just add some on the bottom of that measuring tape bit that's sticking out. And then let me grab my tweezers, and we're going to line that up like that. Then let's grab some mini dimensionals from the backs of these. Each end of the hammer. Maybe one in the middle. It might be too many, but we'll get it there. Then also our wrench. Let's add some dimensionals. Top and bottom, one in the middle. There we go. Let's add this one first. We're going to add this closer to the sentiment, and that will give us an idea of where we can put the hammer. Like that. Oops, as I drop it. And let's see, we're going to let this one dangle down below a little bit. And add it right about there. Like so. Then we can take the backing off this one. And we've already kind of added our bling by adding those little die cut little, I want to say notions, because that would be what you call it in sewing. The little extra hardware there. And let's add our hammer. Make them look like it's hanging off our pegboard. So there we have it. Oh, I forgot to do some coloring. I was going to do some coloring with some Smoky Slate. Let's start with the light one. And we're going to add some color here. Usually you do your coloring before you stick it on, but that's okay. We can make it work. Add that. Let's use the brush tip to do this larger area. So we're using the light Smoky Slate first, like that. And over here, you have to keep in mind that this wrench has a portion that is see-through. Right here where you twist it to adjust the size of the wrench. So we're going to go around and then we'll do the threaded part like that. I also left a little spot there with some white showing to show a little bit of, you know, shine. And I'm going to do the same thing here like that. Leave a little spot uncolored for some shine, and also right there. It's good to mark those out before you color, because usually what happens to me is I get all the coloring done and then I go, oh, I was going to leave a shiny spot. Too late, already colored. So let's go ahead, fill that all in. We can even leave a shiny spot coming down the handle like that. And we could have done that on the measuring tape, but we didn't because I forgot. And then we can add some shadow. And the easiest way to add the shadow is just to add shadow where there's already shading. So here on the wrench, we've got shaded bits. We've got there, like that. Then on here, we can go around the edge. Sometimes the bottom edge is a good place. We'll go where those little shaded bits are. And here, like that. And there. And there we go. We have done all of our coloring. And that is our completed project using the Trusty Tools stamps and dies. I think it's a fun project, thinking ahead to Father's Day and celebrating the guys or the handy people in our lives. It doesn't have to be a guy. And we have used our dies. We have used the Nested Essentials dies to give us those nice rounded rectangle shapes. Then, of course, the dies to cut out our stamped and stamped off colored handles here. We've got our lovely banner in the background, and of course that country woods paper that is just so gorgeous. I love it, love it, love it. And there we go. That is our demo for today, featuring the Trusty Tools stamps, dies, nested dies, and country woods paper. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing that come together, are inspired to create something like this yourself. And just as a reminder, this was inspired by a Pinterest post by Di Barnes. And I hope you guys have a great rest of the evening. We will be on at 7 o'clock for Chat and Craft. We'll see you then. Toodaloo. Bye.